In today's Leeds news, Raphinha on Bielsa. Barca owe Leeds Raphinha money. False claim. Financially positive but off on branded clothing. And Aaronson proud of return. Morning folks, Jer here, The View on Thursday morning, the 10th of October with your Leeds United news. I hope you're all keeping well. I hope anybody that's over in Florida or the US who watches the channel is doing okay this morning. You're probably not watching this morning because your power's probably out, but if you do watch this later on, I hope everyone's okay and you're all safe and everything is good. There's a bit of stuff to get into today. There's some stuff around Raphinha and Bielsa, which is about their time there. There's also some stuff around the finances, where the story yesterday came out that Barcelona may still owe Leeds United money for the Raphinha sale. We'll get to that in a second. And then Brendan Aaronson's been talking on international duty about what it's been like to be back at Leeds United. And we're hearing that as well as the Adidas deal continues to rumble forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But let's start off with the news around Raphinha and Bielsa. And unfortunately for me, I started this channel during Leeds United's relegation season. It's not my fault. I'm not responsible. So I did miss out on the Bielsa Raphinha stuff and missed out on a chance to talk about that. And I feel a little bit hard done by, but luckily for me, both are in the media this week. One talking about his time at Leeds United and one doing stuff that's been really interesting to Luis Suarez. Raphinha obviously in the press for being the Barcelona captain this season and been absolutely on fire over there right now. And Bielsa in the press for Luis Suarez retirement speech, in which he had a little bit of a pop at Bielsa's standoff approach, which to be fair has been backed up by Patrick Bamford, Calvin Phillips, and here also by Raphinha, but it's not the full story. And Suarez's statement didn't go down particularly well with the Uruguayan fans who are enjoying themselves under Marcelo Bielsa's reign right now. Raphinha does acknowledge, though, that there were tough times during his time under Marcelo Bielsa, as well as good times. And speaking to the media in Spain this week, he's been discussing this as the questions came up. And on the topic, he said the following: "In my opinion, I think everyone has a difficult side to deal with. They have a very complicated side in dealing with people and situations. I guess, in my opinion, everyone is different. Everyone has difficulty managing something at certain points. I don't know what happens in the Uruguayan team. What I know is what happened to me in Leeds. I had good times, I had bad times with him naturally. Like a big family, for example. I was in a house with a lot of people inside it. Naturally, conflicts will happen. Good times and bad times will happen." He went on to say that this kind of stuff happens at clubs and happens at national teams, and that close proximity for extended periods of time can breed conflict, which they absolutely can. But he finished off by crediting Bielsa for where he is at Barcelona right now, saying the following: "Personally, I had good moments and I had bad moments with him, but I can only be grateful for everything I am today. For almost everything I am today, where I am today, was thanks to him." He said that there were frictions between players and Bielsa on and off the pitch, some uglier than others at times, but again, he said behind closed doors, in your home, with a family, conflicts happen, things happen. They get out of hand, but they're sorted and they're dealt with and they move on. So, interesting piece there. But it's management styles. I know from when I coached, there are certain players that if I went to a club as a coach would ring me and say, "I heard you're going there, I'm coming with you," and would turn up. And then there were players that were at those clubs that I was going to who would be like, "Him? No, not going to play for him." And they would leave before I ever got there. So it's all about management styles. Tough management styles are hard for players to take, but they set high standards. They push players to be better. You want to keep them there. And then when the moments happen, when you win something, then you drop the guard and you celebrate, and it's all worthwhile, which is what Bielsa did during his time at Leeds. Moving on to another Raphinha story, and this is the one around the ever-increasing urban legend that Barcelona still owe Leeds United money for Raphinha. And it popped up again yesterday with some claims coming out of Spain that Leeds United were still owed a substantial amount of money from the Raphinha sale, from his transfer away from Leeds to Barcelona 2 years ago. Last month we spoke to Kerr Maguire on this channel and we asked the question that you all asked us to ask: did Leeds still have money owed on Raphinha? Kerr Maguire said that in the club's published financial reports, the fee for Raphinha is clearly visible and Leeds aren't owed any money from that, and we thought that that was that and it would go away. Well, it didn't. Yesterday, Spanish media outlet Sport claimed that Leeds were owed £486,000 in short-term instalments and a further £35 million owed in a long-term fee, which is about half, just over half of the total fee. However, this is not the case. Matt Hewitt in Leeds Live today has done a piece where he has clarified and explained this situation really, really well. And in the piece, he confirms that the claims are not accurate, but it does say that there is a possibility that Barcelona, who didn't have the finances at the time to buy Raphinha, may have loaned money from a creditor to make the purchase, which was seen as money up front, and that it is the creditor that Barcelona still owe money to. Barcelona have not been in a good financial state for quite some time and have been kicking their financial woes down the line with long-term sponsorships from Spotify renaming the stadium, shirt sponsorships, which they said they would never do, as well as rotational of big name players being sold and brought back in to keep fans happy and to keep them where they are at the top of the La Liga situation. This Sport story is taken directly then from Barcelona's financial report on June 30th, which breaks down the amount of money owed for existing players at the club right now, in the club or contracted to the club but out on loan, and it brings in all of that agreed fees. In the report, it's stated that Leeds United, Sporting Lisbon, Stade Rennes and Vitoria were all still owed money by Barcelona. Again, it's been clarified today that Leeds United are not one of those teams that are owed money, but it is a possibility that the money may have been loaned from a creditor under the guise of buying from Leeds to buy Raphinha, and that's who they owe the money to. So, to clarify it one more time, and finally again, Barcelona do not owe Leeds United any money for Raphinha. That deal was paid up in full. That was the deal at the time. Go to Barcelona if it's up front. You can go to Chelsea, it's more money, but it's not up front. And that's how it worked out. Moving on to the story that we had last week around Adidas, and this conversation around Leeds and Adidas' contract continues to move forward as we head into the closing stages of the deal with Adidas. Leeds' contract with Adidas is due to finish at the end of this season, and a renewal process is likely underway because the new kits for a new season will likely be started to be signed off between now and Christmas, and we'll have to see what happens there. Last week we spoke about the opportunity that Leeds United could have of getting into what was referred to as Adidas' Elite Plus bracket. That would put Leeds as the only club outside of a major top division to be in that bracket of a handful of clubs that get a full range of all Adidas bespoke apparel, long sleeve shirts, training gear, apparel, full merch range, which is important. In a world of PSR, when revenue is important, having that is massively important. Leeds' deal with Adidas and Red Bull shows that Leeds as a global brand have serious pulling power still to bring them in. And although Adidas don't see Leeds as a major player for them right now, they do see Leeds as having serious future opportunities for the company. Newcastle United have recently signed a new deal with Adidas, which massively eclipses what Leeds did, but it still doesn't put them in the Elite Plus bracket. They move into the Elite bracket. That deal is worth £30 million, which is a significant increase on what Leeds United received from Adidas at the time. The Newcastle deal puts them, as I said, in the elite category, which gives them access to full merch ranges, apparel, but not long sleeve shirts and not some bespoke kits. But the deal this year means a significant apparel and merch items will be available for Newcastle to sell in the store, which might not seem like a major story, but again, as in a PSR revenue world, it really, really is. There has been, this season, I have noticed a notable reduction in the amount of apparel available for Leeds United fans through the Leeds United club store. Players' hoodies that they wear going out onto the pitch and coming into the ground, which would have been available last year, currently are still not available. And maybe it's just outside the UK, and I'm in Ireland, so maybe that's the case. But they're not available. Some of the merch that we saw, t-shirts and that, haven't been put on the store yet. There's a hoodie from the launch. The captain's back in pre-season still hasn't been made available to buy. So there's a serious reduction in the amount of options available versus this time last year and the year before, which obviously means that Leeds aren't selling multiple different types of apparel, which reduces the amount of revenue the club bring in. The Adidas original range sold out and hasn't been restocked, so that can't be sold either. As part of this as well, Newcastle have joined Ajax, Celtic, Inter Miami this season as part of the connected link to the Adidas website and their banner. Leeds United and other Premier League clubs don't currently exist in that space because of the current commercial deals that are in place between the clubs. Leeds obviously have this chance to renegotiate their deal with Adidas this year as the deal is coming to an end. So we could see if Leeds move into a bigger bracket, get a better deal, or we could see if Leeds start to shop around with other partners, as Leeds and now can say we have a global brand with Red Bull as well attached to that maybe other companies like Puma or Nike might want to get involved with Leeds United again moving forward, and we'll see if Leeds can put them against each other and see what kind of finances Leeds can bring in with a new ownership and a very commercially savvy operation. You'd imagine Leeds can bring in more money there. And then moving on to the final story of the day, and this is around Brendan Aaronson's return to Leeds United. And as with international breaks, we get to hear from players that we don't normally get to hear from back in Leeds. And as somebody pointed out to me yesterday, with the appears pause of the Leeds United official podcast, we're not really hearing from many players at all anymore from within the club. But Aaronson has been speaking to the media, and he is away with USMNT duty this week and next, and he's been speaking to stateside media about his return to Leeds United and how he has found things since he came back. And on the topic, he said the following: I had unfinished business at Leeds, and so a lot of things pointed me to going back to Leeds. I think that was the biggest thing for me, a feeling and wanting to go back and prove myself again. I would say the first couple of weeks were pretty difficult mentally. It's not easy when you come back, and it's tough because you might see some fans getting upset with you. You've got to prove yourself again, but I'm proud of myself. Come back, I've done really well, and I've won the Player of the Month, which is really good for me, and that was really a great start. He goes on to talk about the fact that he wants to continue to improve, to build, to get more assists, to get more goals, and keep moving forward. He's been very good since he's come back, it has to be said. The view from Leeds fans towards players is simple. We want players who want to be here and are passionate about being here, and when Aaronson left along with everybody else during a massive exodus of the club, you got that feeling that these players just didn't want to be here. And if you don't want to be here, then don't be here. But don't come back and pretend you want to be here. Aaronson has had to deal with that and has had to prove on the pitch that he is committed to being a Leeds United player and providing quality for Leeds while he is here. And so far, so good for Aaronson in his redemption arc. They happen on the pitch, and so far it's doing well. He'll have a better opportunity in the coming games to impress himself more. 2 big games against Watford and Sheffield United, as well as then an easier on paper run for Leeds, which should show what Aaronson can do. I said last year I thought a year in the Championship would do him well. Being kicked about, make him a bit tougher, show him a bit more, would add to his ability. He took a break for a year, but this year he'll get that. We'll see where we are going into next season on the back of a season in the Championship. Folks, that'll be it for me today. We will have the podcast out later on today at some point. Keep an eye out for that, and I'll be back tomorrow morning outside of that for more Leeds news. Enjoy the rest of your day. Talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.